Welcome to Candid Conversations, Women in Rap, presented in partnership with the Recording Academy's Black Music Collective and Women in Music Atlanta. I'm Michelle Kaplinger, Senior Executive Director of the Recording Academy Atlanta chapter. The New York Times dubs Atlanta as hip-hop's center of gravity. Why Atlanta? Is there a genuine Southern charm and a unique vibe that makes our music community stand apart from the others? Our community is known for supporting each other by including the next generation of artists on their recordings. And instead of competing for the musical throne here, Atlanta is simply resolved to be royalty together. Maybe that, and the industries bring trust. The powerhouse women behind the biggest names in the genre. That might be why. Before you hear from these ladies, I'd love for you to meet our Black Music Collective Chair, Briggs Morales, and executive sponsor, Jerry L. Johnson.
Thanks so much, Michelle. What's up, y'all? I'm Jerry L., executive sponsor of the Black Music Collective. So excited to be here tonight with the Atlanta chapter, talking with women in rap. And what a powerful and incredible lineup that you all put together for this conversation. Really look forward to all the gems that are going to be dropped. So I just can't wait. We established the Black Music Collective about a year ago, and we have been busy at work, establishing different programs, initiatives, scaling it out to the chapters. Atlanta chapter doing some great work. All the chapters doing a lot of great things right now. And while we're excited about where we've been, we're more excited about where we're going, and we know there's a lot of work ahead. And so with that, I want to pass it off to my right hand and my partner in crime. We work on the BMC almost every day, and he's the visionary of the Black Music Collective. Take it away, Riggs Morales.
Thank you so much, Jerry L. An honor to be working with you, working with the Recording Academy and everyone else for this really wonderful initiative. Hey, everyone. I'm Riggs Morales. I'm the chair for the Black Music Collective. I'm super excited to be part of this wonderful program today with the Atlanta chapter. Atlanta, the A, the gateway to the South. You know, quite honestly, the Black music mecca of the last 15 or so years. You know, when we put together the Black Music Collective, making sure that Atlanta was activated as a prominent voice in Black music for the Recording Academy was at the top of the list. There was just no way that a city so influential in the most popular music in the world isn't having its voice and presence felt in one of the most important music organizations in the world. But for this to happen, it starts with engagement, candid conversations, and support for programs like the one taking place today. Women, the unsung, reliable, efficient figures that keep this business of ours running on all cylinders. You know, whether as creatives, managers, promoters, or even administrators, women in hip hop and in rap continue to be one of the most valuable contributors to our culture. I always felt like when a man is thinking, a woman has already thought. This is a tried and true reflection in our mothers, you know, who despite all the pushback that we gave them, they knew better, they knew more, and helped lead many of us down the path towards success that we've all achieved. But we need more. We need more women. We need more rappers. We need more creatives, yes, but we need more producers, more managers, more executives, more women behind the scenes, and most importantly, more women in front of the scenes. Musically, we need more options. We have a Cardi, we got Saweetie, we got City Girls, we lit. What we don't have is more women artists that are relatable to the normal woman. We need more women to inspire the next generation of movers and shakers, and it could start with us here today on this wonderful program. The BMC is super proud to support any and all women looking to make progress in Black music. And we thank you all for allowing us to be part of this wonderful program. With that, I want to shoot it on over to Michelle. Once again, thank you so much for having us. Take it away, Michelle.
Thank you, Riggs and Jerry L., for your exciting and important work. Now, today's moderator, a seasoned music professional who has broken all the molds. She has worked in every aspect of the business, publishing, major label, to the super producers and the established artists. She is Atlanta's rap elite secret weapon. Take it away, Dina Marto.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I am so happy and honored to be here with these lovely ladies that we have on the panel. I want to introduce our first fabulous woman, Ashaunna Ayars, founder of the Ayars Agency, and Ashaunna has a background in marketing and management. She has worked with some of the best artists in the industry, including Mary J. Blige, Young Jeezy, and Jay-Z. And I met Ashaunna when she was at Island Def Jam, and I guess it's been over 15 years now. So hello and welcome, Ashaunna.
Hi. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Our next panelist is Brandra Ringo. She is the Executive Vice President and the head of A&R at Quality Control Music, which is one of the hottest labels, not only in Atlanta, but in the world right now, boasting a roster with Little Baby, City Girls, and the Migos. Brandra has been in A&R and publishing, and she came from Warner Chappell Music. And again, I used to work with Brandra at Island Def Jam. So welcome, Brandra.
Dina.
And our next panelist is Cannon Kent Grant. She is the Senior Director of Promotion for Atlantic Records. She has a background in marketing and promotions, and you've been with Atlantic for 15 years, which is a very long time to be at one label. And you have worked with Cardi B, Bruno Mars, Janelle Monáe, and the list goes on. Welcome, Cannon.
Thank you.
Let's get started, ladies. We're gonna just jump right into this. You guys have so much experience and knowledge to share. So excited for the audience that they get to hear you guys today. So Ashaunna, tell us about your journey and how did you get to this point in your career?
My journey has been a ton of ebbs and flows. I started my career in the music business, or my passion for the music business, in high school. I had a friend who was signed as an artist to Bad Boy at the time. And so if you can imagine, this is 96 Bad Boy, the height of the music business and hip hop in New York. And so it gave me an opportunity to see what these young Black people who look like me, dress like me, talk like me did, and offer me an opportunity to see what new careers could be. And so hanging out with my friend who was a singer, I would go to the office and hang out in the office and sit, in the marketing director's office or the A&R's office. And I fell in love with the idea of these people that were creating culture. And so the curriculum for my school was such that you had to do an internship in order to graduate. And so I created the course that was a record company course that I could work at and achieve my credits to graduate. And so that was the start of my career in the business. And I kind of just never left. My first paying job in the business was working for Wu-Tang Clan. I worked with them for 5 years. If you can imagine back then, the types of videos they were making, the types of deals that they were doing, all of these artists, 9 artists in one group having individual deals and a collective group deal. Then I started working for Swiss, then Def Jam, then Warner, and then 5 years ago started my own company. So ebbs and flows, but my passion for the business came by way of an internship that allowed me to explore the inner workings of a label.
And tell us about your agency. What does your agency do now?
So now I have 2 arms of the agency. One is a marketing arm, and I represent clients like Amazon and Essence. But then I have a management arm of my company, and I have talent that I represent. Primarily Mary J. Blige is my primary management client right now.
And I'm sure she keeps you very busy. Okay, Brandra, when did you know you wanted to be in music, and how did you get your start?
So I knew very early on that I wanted to be on the business side of music. I'm from St. Louis originally, and I remember being a kid knowing that I would live in LA and I would work at the time I thought for Immature, because Immature was popping at the time, right? And so I was like, I'm going to work with them when I get older. And so that was very early on. And I was probably, I can't remember, but I was probably a preteen or something like that. But I fell in love with the music business. I don't know how, but I just remember watching MTV and wanting to always work behind the scenes. It wasn't until fast forward years later, Nelly gave me the opportunity. I worked for his management company through T Love. And so I interned with them in college. And so I went to college in Chicago. So after my internship, I would continue working with them and I would go back and forth from Chicago to St. Louis. And so that afforded me the opportunity to be introduced to a lot of amazing people because of them and because of my internship. And so from there, that's when we all met at Island Def Jam, where, we all worked with Shakir Stewart. And, after that, I ended up working with a lot of different artists. And, further after that, I worked with a lot of songwriters and producers because I was always in love with working with the creatives that actually created the music, right? And so I was like, I have to work with those people. And that afforded me the opportunity to work with Ethiopia Habtemariam at Universal Music Publishing and at Motown at the same time, which was crazy. And then after that, I worked at Warner Chappell, and then now I'm at Quality Control as very recently. So
That is absolutely amazing. And so now you have to move back to Atlanta, right?
I mean, I'm back and forth right now.
Okay.
Come on back, Brandra.
You need
I'm here mostly.
Thank you, Brandra. Okay, Cannon, tell us your background and what you currently do now. Would you describe your path as straight or a windy road to get here?
I definitely feel like it was straight. I'm just a girl from Detroit, born and raised off of 7 Mile. I've always had a love for the culture. Like I was the kind of person, I remember the day I heard Tupac's album and like literally went down the street to the mom and pops and bought the CD. Like that was a big deal. I remember when Bone Thugs and Harmony, like when they came out and it like really like changing music. So it was a big part of my life. And I went to Clark Atlanta University where I was studying to actually produce for television. And somehow the music bug bit me here. So upon graduating, I got into programming, and y'all don't laugh, a digital video jukebox. Okay, we were ahead of the time. And I was hired to be the program director based off of, in college, I had my own video show. It was called The Scene, which is where I really started developing relationships with a lot of the musical people. So like Grand Hustle and like Ludacris, I had interviews all in college, Pharrell. And from having that footage is how I got the job working in programming for the digital video jukebox. Also, I did a lot of internships while in school. And that's one thing I noticed we all said is internships, that I interned everywhere. I interned at WSB TV. I interned with the $1 Million Record Pool, which was in the hood. And the first day the lights went out when I was working there, but I stayed. And so just through all of those things, internship, school, starting my own business in college, going to the digital video jukebox, I got the opportunity to produce for radio. So that's when I really fell in love with production and also with music. And from there, I joined Atlantic Records. And what can I say? It's a love affair. I've been there for 15 years. And it's definitely been a beautiful ride. I mean, it's definitely challenging. I'm sure everyone here can attest to that. You have your ups and you're down. You got your good days and you got your more challenging days. But I would say it was straight. I think hard work has always been at the core of everything that I've done and that I do. So I would say it was more of a straight, pathway.
That's amazing. And what it sounds like from listening to all three of you ladies is that you really have a love and passion for music. And so that's what really, I think, keeps us here for so long, because it is a difficult business, and it's not always a super straight path. So Brandra, what do you think has been your greatest challenge professionally, and how did you overcome it?
I think my greatest challenge is being a woman. And the older that I get, the more that I notice it. And so, I've signed a ton of writers and producers over my career, right? And mainly which were all men, probably 95% of them. It wasn't until recently that I noticed that I had signed a songwriter when I was at Warner Chapel who co-wrote a lot of things, and one of the biggest songs is like a Post Malone song, like She's Badass, J. Lauren. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is the first female songwriter that I've signed. Everyone else is a male. And so, just being in different rooms, you notice things, and when you know people and based off your relationship, you're treated a certain way. But when you're working with people that know nothing about you, you're treated based off your gender. And of course, you're treated based off your race. So, that is something that I've been noticing over the past few years, that like, a lot of men are very comfortable in their music settings with other men. And so being an A&R, I'm in the studio. I'm in an environment where I'm the only woman most of the time. And so that can be a little uncomfortable for men. And sometimes it's honestly a little hard for them to respect the fact that you have an ear for music and that you know what you're doing in a creative way that's not administrative. And so that's probably the biggest challenge that I can think of. And then sometimes it serves me well being the only woman, unfortunately, but sometimes it's actually good, but that's probably my biggest challenge overall.
That makes sense. And I think in the past 20 years that I've been in the business, I've seen it change where you see a lot more women in executive and C-suite roles and not as many just in support and administrative roles. So I think it's changing. But do you think there's like a certain time frame that you have to go through the business where after a 10-year mark, then you're like, okay, then you get the respect that you've earned and deserve from men?
No, because we work with the youth. We work with generations like teenagers or whatnot. So they don't care what you've done. They just know they just know what they know, and they know what they're comfortable with. So as much respect as we have amongst our peers, the older that we get, we are still working with a lot of teenagers and a lot of kids who are in their early 20s, and they don't know. So a lot of the times, originally, when you're introduced to these people, they have no clue and they don't care. So it's just what it is.
Ladies, do you have anything to add to that? I know you guys have extensive careers, so I know you've had your share of dealing with the gender thing.
I would say I haven't had as much of an issue with the gender thing as I have with maintaining a work-life balance, right? So if you're asking what's the biggest challenge for me is maintaining and establishing a work-life balance. And it may sound like that is more of a personal thing and not a professional thing, but I think for us, or for me, you're only good at your job if you are replenishing and refilling your cup. And so when you're in a position as a manager or a product manager or in a position of service, and you're constantly working to help somebody else fulfill their dreams and goals, it's hard to know when to cut that off and to refill your cup. And so for me, it's about establishing that work-life balance. The gender thing definitely comes into play, but I haven't had it as much. And I think part of that is, Brandra, you're in a position that wasn't historically for women. Like the women in A&R roles is a new thing, right? Women usually or historically were reduced in the music industry to publicity or marketing, but women in A&R positions is newer and more celebrated now. And so I've been in creative roles, so I haven't seen that as much as the challenges of knowing when to refill my cup.
That makes a lot of sense.
I've actually had, in promotion, a lot of the time we're entertaining. And so I'll have maybe some program directors or DJs, I'll invite them out for dinner or to the club or whatever. And I've had experiences where it's I'm inviting them out and I'm the one that's going to be paying the bill. And I've literally gone to a club before where the bottle girl or whatever, I got there early just to set up and make sure that, the DJ playing the music had all our stuff. I came and sat down in our section and I was like, go ahead, you can pop the bottle. Let's get the party started. And she's like, well, I'm going to wait, for the guys to come, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to wait for them to come who's paying or whatever. And so I was just like, oh, okay.
Right.
I said, well, I'm paying. So, go ahead and this party started, sis. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's chicks out here who, spending money too. So I thought that was really interesting. And she was kind of embarrassed. So she wasn't rude about it. And I wasn't rude to her. But I think the assumption is that if you see a group and it's only one woman and it's all men there, especially if they're established, that the woman is either a girlfriend or support, like you were saying. So, there's a lot of changes there. So people do get surprised, like, oh, okay.
I've even had it to where people will introduce themselves to everyone but me.
Oh, girl, that happens to me all the time. Sorry.
It happens all the time. And so a guy explained it to me. He said, well, people don't want to disrespect if they think you're someone's girl, so they just don't speak at all. And so it's assumed, like you said, that we're there as a spouse or someone's partner, and it's like, no, we're working.
Right.
Perspectives, ladies. Very interesting. Miss Ashaunna, why were you drawn to hip hop out of all the genres of music? And would you agree that Atlanta has set the musical trends globally in rap, and why?
Okay, that's a loaded question. The first part, it's in my DNA. I mean, like, it's the music that I listen to. It's the way that I dress. It's the way that I wear my hair. It's the big earrings. Like, it's in my DNA. I was born into hip hop, I would say. I grew up in New York, in Queens. Rap and hip hop was prevalent in my community. Russell Simmons is from Queens. He was like, the king of Queens. He was like our hometown hero. So I don't think there would have been any other genre of music that I could have fell in love with in a way that I have hip hop, because it's just in my DNA. I was born into it. I think the second part of the question is, would I agree that
as Atlanta, would you agree, has set really the musical trends globally in rap, and why?
I think currently it certainly has, and has had a run for a really long time in doing so. I think for me, what I've seen in Atlanta, and again, I'm from New York, I'm a Queens girl, but I've owned a home here for the past 14 years, and I've worked with a lot of artists that have been based here, which introduced me to Atlanta. But I think there's a sense of community here amongst the artists and the creatives that is just different from anywhere else. I think you see artists wanting to see other artists to win. You see it in the features and the collaborations. You see it when you watch the videos and artists are showing up to each other's videos. I also think the leadership in the city of Atlanta welcomes creatives, and particularly creatives in the hip hop culture. They welcome new businesses. They welcome the idea of entrepreneurship, the clubs, the festivals. I think the leadership here really allows for an environment of creatives, particularly in the hip hop community, to thrive. And I think that's why you see so many artists and so many labels and so many businesses rooted in hip hop culture win big.
This is truly a music city here in Atlanta, and especially for hip hop. And what I really love, one of my favorite stories about you, Ashaunna, is when you created the iconic snowman for Young Jeezy. That was absolutely everything. I don't think people know the story, but it is. And you just kind of drew it on a piece of paper and was like,
yeah. I mean, for me, marketing was a competitive sport, right? And so I watched other marketers and other labels and how they were launching artists and things that they were doing to stand out and to position these new artists in new and exciting ways. And I remember at the time that we were working Jeezy, Mike Jones was starting, and he had the phone number, and it was so popular, and it was the song, and he had the t-shirts with the number on it, and it was a whole campaign. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta beat Mike Jones. This is my competition from a marketing standpoint. And so it was what can we create that's as simple as the phone number, that's as memorable, that can connect with anyone. And there was obviously undertones of other things in Jeezy's music and in the messaging, but my thing was how do I create something that's as iconic, memorable, and noticeable as the phone number. And so he had called himself the Snowman. Some people knew what it meant, some people didn't. And so that was just kind of my competitive marketing coming through.
Well, absolutely iconic moment right there.
Thank you.
Cannon, describe your biggest victory in your career thus far, because you have so much more to go, but for right now.
So for me, like, I measure success as a journey, not really as a destination, if that makes sense. Like, so for me, I'm my biggest, I think, victory would be seeing several of my interns now as my colleagues. I think that's my biggest contribution. Two of my former, thank you, Shauna. Two of my former interns who I work with, like literally, they started just literally filling up ice buckets for T.I.'s, album release party. It's now a rep for Columbia. And then another one, Naya Hogans, is at Empire now, and then she also has her own. She's an entrepreneur, has her own company, and is like really doing some amazing things. I mean, I just have several interns that are now working in marketing out in LA, and it's just interesting because I now call them to bounce ideas. You know what I mean? It's just so funny. Like, now we're colleagues and we strategize together, and I'm learning from them. So that is like, I mean, I feel like their mom, but I'm not old enough to be their mom, but I feel like I feel like their mom. So like, so that's an example of, I feel like my greatest accomplishment thus far, and I plan on doing more of it going forward, is just, reaching back and pouring into young talent.
I love that. It's super impactful. It really fills your heart. And Brandra, I just have to say, like, watching your career, because I kind of met you when you started, I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
Ashaunna, how has the business changed for females within the biggest and most popular global music genre, which is rap?
I think it's changed in the way that we're seeing women celebrated and given opportunities that you didn't see before. I think I mentioned, when I started the music business, you saw women in artist development, you saw them in publicity, you saw them in marketing, and more creative roles. But now you're seeing women in running promotions departments, running A&R departments like Brandra. And being in leadership roles and in C-suites and being CEOs and heads of divisions. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Women were always at labels. Women were always the backbone behind some of the biggest labels and artists and infrastructures in the music business. But now I think we're being recognized in a way that we hadn't, and getting opportunities that we hadn't. Like, when I think about if we're talking about Atlanta, when I think about LaFace, and I think about all of the artists that Pebbles discovered, you know what I mean? Like, people talk about LA and Babyface all the time, but I think Pebbles was like, she was the secret sauce. And so I think we're kind of seeing us celebrate each other and be celebrated for our accomplishments and given opportunities that maybe we hadn't before, which is great.
We really do run things, right, ladies?
100%.
Brandra, what is business as usual as we slowly emerge from the pandemic? What is the new business like?
Fair question for people in Atlanta.
Oh, it is a little unfair. Kind of wide open the whole time.
Atlanta's open.
Because Atlanta is so open, I use that opportunity to travel here a lot in the pandemic when everyone was staying indoors and obviously being safe. But I just couldn't stand being in the house. And I remember calling my boss at the time, like, yo, I want to court this artist. Like, I have to get out in the streets. And he's like, yo, you're crazy. No, I was like, I'll be fine. He was like, you better not catch COVID. And I was like, I'll be safe, I promise. And so I would just go back and forth to Atlanta in the thick of it, right? And I was setting up sessions and safely setting up writing camps. And so because of that, I think that's probably what eventually led me to my job here. Obviously, I've set up many things for QC in the past and have placed a lot of records with them as a publisher. But just acting as business as usual was just business as usual for me. So I got out there in the midst of it, being safe, but I did get out there.
I was going to say the one thing that really didn't change a lot is the like studios. People were still recording. There might not have been as a big of an entourage or as many people in the studio, but studios never lost their steam, I don't think.
And they were hard to find. You could not book a studio in Los Angeles at one point when they did open back up back there. But like, I mean, you got to think all the people that were typically on the road were no longer on the road, and everyone was creating music at the same time. So it became literally everyone's outlet at the same time.
It was back to the music, back to the creative. Cannon, give us your outlook for the genre and for the females who make their living in rap. How do you think Atlanta will continue to play a role as a creative hub for talent?
I mean, I feel like Atlanta is set up to win if you make your money in music. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the legislation is directed towards us. So for example, you can record, do a video here, even if you're based on the West Coast or wherever, and there's tax incentives on doing it here in Atlanta. And not only that, I feel like the city is set up because we have the historically Black colleges here. There is a plethora of artists that are like graduating in here. And not only that, like for me at Clark Atlanta, I majored in radio, television, film production. And so in my class, literally, I graduated with people who were equipped to do video, to write scripts, to produce. So you have a lot of talent that is here already, as opposed to in a lot of cities, they won't have, people that are ready to go and professional that can work in studios and be an engineer. So I think that is a unique thing that we have here in Atlanta. And not only that, like, I feel like legislation is set up for us. A lot of the local city officials here work hand in hand with the artist, and want to protect your rights. And even I remember hearing that there was, I guess there was a city official who wanted to ban studios where no one else on city council voted for that. So, it's just interesting to me that they want to protect people who have home studios, because that was one of the things during the pandemic. A lot of our artists, we actually built studios for them in their homes so they could record. Like, let's not stop the music just because it's not safe to be outside, even though Atlanta was completely open. But, so I just feel like Atlanta is definitely set up. And I was reading, I guess there was a study done to find out exactly how much money was injected into the city, Fulton County specifically. And it's like over like $265 million that has been put into this, city just from the music sides of things. And they said over 10,000 jobs were created here over the last 15 years, I believe. And that's a study that they did here just to see how impactful, because hip hop, the good thing about it is it's not just music, it's not just recording, but it's also lifestyle. So we're talking about, the people who are doing hair, the people on set, doing your wardrobe, makeup. Like it's all, hip hop is just more than just one thing. It's truly like, lifestyle. So, I mean, it's all affected here in Atlanta. Like you can get everything here. We have artists that travel and do their entire album here, and fall in love with it and end up buying a house here. I mean, that we have several artists that are like that. That's you. Yeah, you just fall in love with
transplant. I'm a transplant.
Yeah, like the food, the vibes, like, it and then partnership also. I feel like this is one of the things that's unique, is that artists want to collaborate together, you know what I mean? And work together. And it can be something as simple. I've seen literally being on a promo run with excuse me, with an artist where we will go to a restaurant, see another artist. That artist paid for our food. We ended up hooking up with them later, and then they did a song together. Like literally, it was a very organic, move. So I just feel like Atlanta kind of has that, a fairy dust, for lack of a better word, that,
Wakanda.
yeah, exactly. That brings people together, So I feel like that is, I feel like we have a chokehold on the rap game for right now. I don't know how long we're gonna have it, but I don't see it in the near future going anywhere.
Yep, and the culture. And I would like to say that I was one of those people that went down to City Hall to fight that studio bill, because I had 12 studios in Midtown and they were trying to shut us down. But thankfully, the music community here got together and we pushed back.
Yes, yes.
Brandra, what is your superpower and how do you use it to your advantage in business?
Superpower. I think I have a couple.
My
superpower, I would say, is how you always hear like the calm before the storm. I think I am the calm within the storm. I always remain calm, like no matter what happens. And so I think over the years that has, kind of create a sense of comfort and assurance amongst creatives that I work with, that like whenever it's time to freak out, I'm not freaking out. I'm freaking out on the inside for sure. But outwardly, I'm chill. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get this done. I don't know how we're gonna get it done, but we'll be fine. And I remember there was an incident recently where I was with an artist here in Atlanta, and it got very chaotic around us. I mean, crazy. And because it was her first time in Atlanta, I had to play it cool, like, oh, we're good. Mind you, I don't know if we're good. I have no idea. Shit was going down, okay? We're safe. Don't even worry. Like we're good. But on the inside, I'm freaking out. But it kept her calm, and it made her feel like, okay, things will be fine. And so because of that, that's led me into a lot of different places, because we're all in different rooms, we're in different environments where it will get chaotic at times because of the environment that we work in. And so you have to keep a certain mental space on how you address things or how you deal with things in the moment. The other superpower I would say that I have is organization. I think we as women pay very closely to details. And so because of that, as an A&R, I think certain times you just think as a creative, oh, you can't be organized because you're a creative person. Like you got to be just all over the place mentally. But I've never really been that way. I've been kind of both. So I remember there were scenarios where colleagues of mine would lose deals based off the fact they just weren't responding to emails. They just didn't see it. And so I would make sure I always responded to emails. I kept track of everything. I returned every phone call, every text message. And so when you're organized, it puts you a step ahead of the next creative person, because you don't want to miss anything. And I remember saying this before, but like I want everything. So it kind of gives you a step up in a way.
How important is me time to you, and how do you incorporate it in your work-life balance?
So it's super important to me, because with all of this work we do, and I definitely find pleasure and enjoyment in what I do. At the end of the day, during the holidays and your off time, if you don't have anyone to share it with, then what is it for? So I've definitely sacrificed some opportunities to move to other cities, but because I am married, and it would really affect my relationship with my husband, I've actually declined, which I'm totally fine with, because the reality of it is the best part of my life is my relationship with him. So, and my relationship with my family. So, very early on in my career, when I was really young, I missed a lot of weddings, birthdays, because I was just so focused on, trying to be Oprah, or at least get a little close. And, but it became, clear to me that the real joys in life is having that work-life balance. Because obviously I definitely want to win at work, but I also want to have that time to spend with my family and friends and create memories. So when I look back on my life when I'm 80, hopefully if I'm blessed, I can look back and smile on the things, that I've accomplished with and the people that have been there with me. So, I definitely know it's hard to have a relationship. When I produced the morning show, I actually had to end a relationship because I had to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to be at the station at 5 o'clock in the morning, which meant I had to get up at 3:30, which meant I had to go to bed by like 8. And it just really wasn't conducive to have a relationship. So it was a definite sacrifice. But now I feel like I've built up enough equity in my career in work that now I'm able to juggle both, if that makes, sense.
Makes total sense. And it's such a constant battle to like get that right work-life balance. It's a constant struggle, I think, for all of us, really.
Yeah.
To get it right. Ashaunna, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
Ooh, what advice would I give my 21-year-old self? I would tell my 21-year-old self to live in the moment a bit more. I came into the business really young in high school. And so by the time I was 21, I had a position at a label. And so I felt like because I didn't come from one of the smaller labels that, grew up with each other as a community, like a Rockefeller or a LaFace, it was just me by myself. I probably put a lot more pressure on myself than I needed to deliver. And I carried a heavy load that I probably didn't have to either. So there are moments that I should have lived in a little bit more, celebrated a little bit more that I missed because I just put so much pressure on myself to deliver. So when I hear Cannon talk about some of the interns or people that she had that worked under her that are now her peers, I feel like I wish I would have spent more time developing those types of relationships, fostering those types of relationships with the younger me's, because I didn't, because I just felt like I was under so much pressure to win and to be successful and to deliver, that I didn't live in the moment and enjoy the moments as much as I wish I would have.
I totally agree with that. You look back and you're like, I wish I could have just been more present and about what's happening next. Right.
Like just trying to be strategic, make the right moves. It's like I didn't have as much fun as I probably could have.
Cannon, what has the pandemic really taught you about pivoting, and what do you think you've gained, like a benefit that you've gained from the pandemic?
Well, definitely, for me, radio that's my main objective, right? Is, exposing our music on the radio. And that's one of the unique things here in Atlanta is that we have the most, I meant to bring that up earlier, so I'm gonna just say it now really quick, but we have 4 hip hop stations in Atlanta. We're the only city in the country that has that. So a big deal for me is to bring our artists into like right before their album drops and we go do a promo tour where we cover everything. And if you do that, because we have so many syndicated shows here in Atlanta, you essentially cover the country. So if you go to the Morning Hustle, for example, I believe they're in like 35 different markets, or Ricky Smiley. So, you just have a lot of opportunity here with radio promotion. Well, when the pandemic and the radio stations closed, it's like, like, how do we promote our new artists and how do we get the word out about, putting out new projects? So we had to pivot. And one of the things we did is, especially for our new artists, it's really important for them to tour. There's no touring, right? there's no meet and greets that we could do. How do we break these artists? How do we introduce them? And just give an example, Jack Harlow, I feel really proud what we did at Atlantic with him and also with Generation Now. We started doing IG lives literally with radio station personalities, and I was setting them up. And even though it was an IG live, I was setting it up like a whole promo tour. So I had a whole schedule and I was contacting the people. I was sending them the music, making sure they listened to it. I mean, I'm one of those people, I will get on your last nerve. I will keep calling you and texting you until I know that you at least listen to it. And we set up IG lives all across the country. And I'm even talking small markets like Macon. It was leave no rock unturned because no one knows who Jack is. And it was so crazy. I started looking on Instagram and everything, and people were like, oh my God, he's white. Who knew? So, so IG Lives, that was something that became a promo tool. Then also Instagram, also Zooms. So we were recording Zooms with all the radio stations when we had album release or a video. I mean, we were making it a moment for anything. If you wanted to interview to talk about anything, because we needed to get him to interact with people in different cities so we could expose him. And we ended up getting a #1 off of it. And now I heard the other day, Papa John's is using What's Poppin' in their commercial, and that's the nationwide. So to me, that's success and breaking a new artist, getting that exposure in the middle of pandemic without any, physical contact.
Yeah. Really about being flexible and just changing with the time period that's happening. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we only have a couple of questions left. You guys are doing amazing. Brandra, what is a repeated lesson you've had to learn that you finally mastered?
Just gotta expose myself, huh? Let's see. I think delegating, right? I have this thing where I would rather do something by myself because I know it'll get done right than to delegate it. But after a while, you can only delegate so much when you have a plate full. So it's really about the team at the end of the day. And we know that by being an extension of the artist team. So I have to delegate. And over the years, I learned more and more how important that is. So just delegating.
Especially when you're a perfectionist, that is hard to do, but yes, a good lesson to learn. That is amazing. Oh my God, I have had so much fun moderating this conversation, ladies. Thank you so much for being here and having me here as well. And I just want to close it out so you guys can give any closing remarks. So where can people find you? How can they follow you? Where do they tap in? Brandra.
I'm the worst at social media, so don't. No. Post. But at Brandra, that's it. BRANDRA.
I'm about to follow you.
Okay, perfect.
I think I follow you, Brandra. You're not worse than me. I'm terrible with social media. We all need a Dina Marto social media branding class. Exactly. Let's close out there. Let's close out with Dina committing to teaching Can and Brandra and I how to brand yourself on social media.
I do a terrible job at it.
It is literally a part-time job, I'm telling you. It takes over.
We need your help.
Thank you so much, ladies. This has been amazing. Thank you for your time. Absolutely had a great time.
Thank you, Dina.
Thank you.
We are grateful for our incredible panelists, Ashaunna, Canon, Brandra, and of course, our beloved moderator, Dina. Thank you for tuning in to Candid Conversations, Women in Rap.